I was sitting at my desk today, and it's been a rough day emotionally, energetically. You know, the highs and lows of this place, I'll tell you, they will get you. They will get that ass. It just really sucks sometimes. But I'm at my desk today, and I start to get a data packet and a vision and an image that begins to unpack in my mind about how the human mind consciousness stream works. And so I stopped what I was doing. I've learned to honor these things when they come, and I've learned to recognize when they're a message for me and a message for, the collective. And I have yet to do what I'm about to do now, which is write something and then read it to you. But I couldn't stop and record at that moment. So I typed out as much as I could. And when I get to the end, if I feel led to add to it, I will. This is about thoughts and how the stream works within yourself and then commingles with the collective. And this is so important right now because we seem to have departed from anything resembling truth. And this is part of, I think, why. Here goes. We often borrow each other's thoughts without realizing it. This happens much more often when we find ourselves running in autopilot. Autopilot usually occurs because we are operating within the mundane and doing things that we can do without even engaging much brain power, like driving and cleaning and showering and getting ready, etc. Imagine your thought stream like a Hansel and Gretel trail of breadcrumbs, just more so in the form of a string of code. Now, our code can run any direction or multiple directions at once. It does not have to be linear, although most people believe this is how thoughts work. But your brain doesn't house, store, nor even originate your thoughts. Your brain collects, interprets, and illustrates data it receives from whatever field that your frequency has attuned you to. Why am I talking about thoughts right now? Because in our day-to-day operations, we have data that fills in the so-called empty spaces in the so-called string of thoughts applicable to our lives. For instance, you don't like shrimp because that idea was rooted in your fields. When I say fields, I mean your field of consciousness that's around you. That idea was rooted in your fields from 12 years old when you ate it and hated it. At the age of 50, you are still 100% positive that you do not like shrimp, even though you haven't revisited that thought in 38 years. Why? Because that space is filled, meaning the space determining your shrimp preference is filled. And it's because it's filled that you do not actively explore the subject matter. You're satisfied that it is a complete thought loop. Because when you scan for that information, you find something there. Whether it's true or accurate matters not. Just that the space is being filled is sufficient for you to be satisfied. We no longer engage in the thoughts we find in their assigned slots. We no longer pick them up, turn them over, and view them from multiple angles. We are simply satisfied if, when we search our fields for that subject matter, we find something. Anything. This is why people are so quick to say these common phrases like follow the science and where's your tinfoil hat? It's also why people say things like I only do what my doctor says. When they consider their health and well-being, their thoughts bring them to the word doctor. And since they find something in that slot, they think they can now close the loop on that subject. There has never been a more critical time in history for us to stop ourselves in that very moment when we autopilot an idea or a concept. It is hard. It requires self-observation, self-control, surrendering of the ego. Because let's face it, the ego needs to be right. Whether it's actually right or not is immaterial. It also requires surrendering your strong emotional attachment to the idea. These strong emotions make us feel like we are definitely on track. So we attach to them with great fervor, terrified of releasing them long enough to double check their relationship to the actual truth. Which brings me to truth. as a living, breathing entity, because that's what it actually is. Truth, as a personified feminine thing for the sake of this conversation, is a demure but infinitely strong woman. She does not push herself into conversation, but she stands ready when someone desires her, always willing to reveal herself, never hiding or masking. She only asks two things: that you seek and that you allow her to be what she truly is without judgment or critique. Truth can only be felt, not heard or seen. Truth is felt in our deepest recesses. She's too valuable and precious to allow herself to roll around in the dirty doldrums of the lower three chakras that manufacture this human condition. She stands ready and firm, ready to be greeted, and stands within the hungry-hearted. But we have lost that hunger. Why? Because we do not know that we are hungry. Why? Because something, anything, has filled that slot. Anything is in our bellies, so to speak. Thoughts, ideas, and concepts are inserted as placeholders for truth. And if we are not careful, we will accept the placeholder as the truth. It's not the truth. It's meaningless data waiting to be replaced by truth. Rest assured, if it is not within your heart and showered in light-encoded filaments, it is not truth. If it is haughty, if it's boastful, arrogant, pushy, demanding, it is not truth. Truth herself is revolted by these things. We have got to return to the methodical and thorough seeking of what is real, what is pure, what is fine, and what is true. I'm not reading anymore. It's like when you're hungry and you eat carbohydrates. You fill up. And I don't know about y'all, but I've been real poor where, I bought, bread and rice and pasta to feed everybody, and that because it fills you up really fast, but it's empty, it's devoid of anything, of any sustenance. This is how I see this image that has come down into me. This is how I see what we are doing. We have things in those places, and therefore we think because something is there that this is a sufficient thought or a sufficient situation, but it is utterly and grossly and terrifyingly insufficient. I challenge you to, first of all, try not to allow yourself to go into autopilot in the coming days. It is very important that you hear what I'm saying to you. Stay heart-centered. Fill your belly with air every time you think about it. Pull light into your heart space. Command it to illuminate everything so that you can see everything for what it is. When you find yourself tripping on what actually the idea of the shrimp, that you don't like the shrimp, you decided at 12 years old, that's the original meaning of the word meme. A meme is something that you believed all the time, that stuck in your brain, that has been there for many years, that you haven't revisited to see if it's still true for you or not. So when you find yourself stuck on a meme, on an old antiquated idea that's collected dust, I challenge you to surrender your ego, surrender your desire to be right, surrender your desire to justify your old habits, and just be honest with yourself. Is this really true or not? Is this really true for me? Because every day, especially those of us who are working on growth, every day we are a new creation, different than we were yesterday. So what you may have liked yesterday, or what was true for you yesterday, is not true today. Or today, when you look at the same thing, you might see something new when you look at it. I used to love solid white albacore tuna from a can. I would sit and eat that, and I would sit and eat it with my little daughter, and we used to just have our little evenings with our little tuna snackage, and it was wonderful, and I have nostalgia attached to those memories, and it was just beautiful. So I recently bought solid white albacore tuna again, and I sat down to eat it, and I was repulsed. I spit it out, and I gave it to the cat. It's disgusting. I cannot eat that anymore. It no longer is I'm no longer a match for that. Something changed, and it's not the same anymore. But if I had not revisited it, I would not know that. Now, is that important for me to know? Probably not. But I hope it illustrates what I'm trying to explain. We think because some thought is in that place that it qualifies as something meaningful. But it is only meaningful when you have taken the time to explore it. And if truth is your primary goal, then explore whether it is actually true. I love you so much. I am suffering in my heart today. I'm struggling with a lot of sadness, just looking around at the situation we're in. But I absolutely believe that we will not fail. One more quick note. Someone very close to me told me that he saw something intuitively in a third eye vision. And he said he saw me walking through a dark woods. I couldn't see anything. It was pitch black. But he said I walked as though I was not afraid. I walked with no concern, no care. I just moved. I just walked steady. And he said all of the sudden, a brick path came down from the sky and laid out before me. And now the path was well lit. And then I was able to safely reach my destination. And I hope that gives you some kind of hope, because it gave me some. That even though it feels like we are walking in the pitch black, and it seems hopeless. It's hard to see the finish line right now. It's hard to even see how we are going to get there, but we are. We will. We have. It is already done. It just has to manifest in the third dimension. I love you so much, and I mean it. We can do this.